Big business and landlords will be slugged with new and higher taxes for the next decade.
The government's keen to show it's getting on with the job of growing the economy.
It's just part of the pain in a state budget that's under fire.
Last week, the Victorian budget announcement was all over the media, and surprise, surprise, there's a massive big black hole of debt. The state government have been talking up their big plan to pay out their $31 billion COVID borrowings back, all the while hiding the fact that the state is still going backwards.
Which is predicted to hit $165 billion and keep climbing.
Global ratings agency Standard & Poor's predicts that by 2025, Victoria will hit peak debt of $194 billion. Despite this, the state government are putting on a brave face and selling their own numbers.
Responsible COVID debt repayment plan will put Victoria on a sustainable path to grasp the opportunities ahead.
The Treasurer Tim Pallas on Tuesday handed down his 9th and most difficult budget, which details a COVID debt repayment plan to bring the state's borrowings, set to total $171.4 billion by 2026, under control. I feel like I should highlight something for the average viewer here. It's this blind spot that Australians are really bad at, and that is talking and thinking about numbers. A real life example of this happening is when I say in conversation that most people actually don't know what money is. It's as if there's some hypnotist trick where they put you into a trance and tell you what they want you to hear.
With the pandemic emergency, we borrowed to keep Victorians safe. We're not the only government in this position, but we are the only government with a plan to manage it with our COVID debt repayment plan.
Let's talk about the COVID repayment plan, because it's a great example of political parties selling a story.
That under Labor, Victoria is broke.
And that story is that our economic woes are because of the pandemic. Data shows the Victorian government spent big over COVID, more than any other state by a country mile. Prior to the pandemic, Victoria was at the same government debt to GDP as South Australia. Victoria and South Australia were both around 9%. By the end of 2022, Victoria was now up to 20%, and South Australia was only at about 14%. And if you look at the forecast of 2026, Victoria's debt is increasing faster than the rest of the states. Tell me the story about the COVID payback plan again. This data really confused me. I thought to myself, how is the debt still going up and projected by them to be topping in 2026? I mean, I know there's a lot of infrastructure spending still to be done, as our record amount of infrastructure construction will take time to complete, but surely most of that money was spent during the lockdown years. Victoria's budgeted income for the next financial year is $89 billion. The projection for the 2026-27 financial year is $100 billion. Let me unmagic this for you. If you take our budgeted figure for this year of $89 billion and assume a 4% inflation rate, it will tell you that we're going to earn $100 billion by that time. So basically, at that level of inflation, Victoria as a state isn't actually earning anything extra. Things will be harder as the expenses, which are higher than the income, will have the same inflation effect. Throw on top of this our climbing interest bill on our increasing debt.
A second financial agency has downgraded Victoria's credit rating.
Back in late 2020, S&P Global Ratings slashed Victoria's state government's credit rating from AAA to AA, meaning that the state is less creditworthy and therefore we must pay a higher interest rate on our debt. There's no doubt Victoria is going backwards as an economy. This is what governments won't tell you. The scary thing is, it's not just going backwards for a year, it's going backwards for 4 years. I want to stop here and clarify something, because it strikes at the heart of everything. There is no plan to increase the amount of income we are earning. This is on a government level, but also a generalisation for the average individual level. There is no plan to increase the level of income, and it's very hard to recover from a bad position if that's the case. When you think about it, what does Victoria as a state actually sell? Where does it make its money? There is no plan, not from the current government, nor from the opposition. The nearest thing to a plan is to flood our universities with foreign students. The other thing that's noticeable is the borrowing. It just keeps going up. If you as an individual or a family are spending more than what you earn every year for years, then that is a problem. It's going to wipe you out. Victoria is living beyond its means and has no plan to increase the income. Here's a very basic economic cycle. We have economic cycles because of debt. Borrowing is taking future gains and bringing it forward to buy stuff. Out of that stuff that is brought forward, there should be enough income created that pays back the debt plus the interest. When that doesn't happen, people stop spending. One person's spending is another person's income, and this is when the cycle starts moving down. The coming years are unlikely to be as easy as the previous couple of decades. The reason I make this point is so that people will take more responsibility for their own finances, because the government isn't going to come in and save the day. You can start by putting good people who are experts in finance around you. If you want to do that, get in contact with us using the links below. Hope you like the video. Cheers.